Hi creatures, my name is Yuval and I'm sitting here in my work clothes and this epic hat because I'm sitting in the middle of a food forest, a regenerative land project that I'm currently working on, but more on that a bit later. Today I wanted to shoot this video to have a conversation, have a dialogue with you about the polycrisis, specifically about two default ways in which we are currently reacting to the polycrisis and potentially elaborating a third way that we can all decide, choose, build, take in order to navigate this polycrisis with more ease, in order to navigate this polycrisis more intelligently, more thoughtfully, more hopefully, and more joyfully. And this video is going to be part of a whole series that we are going to create over the next couple of months that I call From Emergency to Emergence. This is part of a bigger project that is called the Emergent Wisdom Collective that you can join over at Discord. All the links are under the video, which is a space dedicated to the mutual development of integral strategies for navigating the polycrisis that we are in, for navigating the chaos of this polycrisis, and imagining new futures beyond the logics of capital and the control of the state. We gathered because we understand the absolute urgency in starting to elaborate these different futures, because the current futures that are being elaborated both by the democratic, neoliberal faction as well as by the reactionary conservatism are both death cults that are leading to the actual death of all that is alive on this planet. And so hopefully we can elaborate some alternatives today. But first, what is the polycrisis? So the polycrisis is a term that was coined to describe the current moment that we are in as a species. There have been civilizations and human societies that have collapsed before. Empires that have collapsed, cities that have collapsed, tribes that have withered away. But we've never faced such multiplicity of planetary level, species level scale of crises all happening simultaneously. The psychological meaning crisis of post-truth reality where you are unsure, where with a media landscape that is increasingly more confusing and discourse that is increasingly more polarized and polarizing, to the ecological climate crisis, both climate disasters that are exacerbating as well as the soil degradation, which is going to make producing food much more scarce and challenging in the future. To the geopolitical crisis, we have multiple genocides happening simultaneously in Palestine, in Sudan, in the Congo, in other places, and it seems like we are at the brink of, if not in the middle of already, a third world that is going to reshuffle the cards completely. And it doesn't seem like the leaders that we have in place have any kind of vision for what can possibly be ahead. Unfortunately, the kind of fascistic, reactionary, conservative faction of the political spectrum is actually the one that has more of a gust, more of a kind of erotic drive, more of a vision of something they actually want to see. It's just that none of that futures include mutual thriving for all of us. And so we're going to talk about it a little bit. We're going to describe the current default two paths of reaction to this crisis and hopefully elaborate a third optional way that I want to take as a practice and hopefully as many of you can take as well. And so, this society, this polycrisis that we experience right now is directly generated by an overall philosophy, worldview of anthropocentrism, human centrality, the increasing disconnect that human society, human as a species, have created and generated from nature, from our natural environment. Because whether we want it or not, we are part of that biosphere. We are emergent phenomena out of this very earth. There is nothing that happens outside of the flow of this earth, outside of the flow of this biosphere. And we are part of it. And we are directly interdependent on this biosphere for our survival. We have, over the last couple of 100 years, created this myth in which through technological advancement we can transcend our dependency on nature and somehow ascend to a different reality in which we can grow forever, infinite growth. And now we are hitting the very real limits of the climate of this planet, which is kind of humbling, right? It brings us back to the truth of our existence here, which is we are creatures among creatures, not superior to any other creature, and that we are inherently interconnected with everything that is alive here and inherently dependent on every system of life that exists in this biosphere. And so as such, to whatever degree of awareness, those of us who choose to look away, those of us who get depressed, those of us who don't even think about it, those of us who really go and explore and look reality in the eyes, whatever the level of awareness to the polycrisis that you have, we feel it in our bodies. There is no way, there is no place in the world that you can be in and not directly feel the reaction, the affects of living through a time of a polycrisis. And you can probably recognize two main default ways in which people are currently choosing to react to this polycrisis. You can recognize that in yourself, in some days, in some moments. You can recognize it in people around you in the micro scale, and you can recognize it on the macro scale, on the global stage. And those two ways are, on one hand, the path of looking away, the path of apathy, the path of trying to ignore what is happening until it's impossible to ignore anymore. And on the other hand, we have the path of depression, of lethargy, of nihilism and helplessness. You can also see that these two paths subscribe and are maybe generated by certain worldviews that are currently dominant in our political sphere. On the one hand, you have the kind of neoliberal democracy that believes in slow incremental changes of policy changes in order to kind of train and tame human nature, tame capitalism, tame technology, and hopefully improve slowly towards a certain future, which is obviously, evidently, if you look at anywhere in the global south and in the periphery within the global north, a failed project. On the other hand, you have the reactionary conservatism that always looks back towards the past, a kind of nostalgia towards some kind of imaginary, of course, glorious past that we want to return to, which, of course, always only includes a particular skin color. You can also see pretty interestingly, and it's something that I've been contemplating on and also writing about in my Substack, you can see how these kind of attitudes toward the world, the kind of incremental progressivism and reactionary regressivism, are kind of generated by overall worldviews, the way that we understand the world around us. For example, you can see how evolutionism, this kind of prevailing view of nature as linear, progressive, filiative, genetic movement forward. One thing connect with another, a combination of them both proceeds through genetic filiation and so on and so forth, and things evolve. You can see how that worldview can generate this kind of overall sense of progressivism that neoliberal democracies take, of slow incremental genetic changes, right, in the political sphere as well. And you can also see, on the other hand, how the kind of reactionary conservative regressivism often takes the kind of religious path, the religious worldview that rejects evolutionism and that looks at the world in a sort of theistic idealism, where the world is coming from a perfect unity of some sort and goes towards a perfect culmination of some sort. You can see it in demented dreams like the rapture, like all these kind of Judeo-Christian apocalyptic mythologies that maybe go towards some accelerated futurism, but always to lead to a past, right? Like Jesus will come back, all the Jews will die or whatever, and then we will go back to some kind of glorious past. So very regressive. So you see how these kind of views of nature also inform these kind of general main attitudes that we have towards the political sphere. Both of which, as is starkly evident by anyone who cares about life, by anyone who cares about preserving and thriving of living systems to be accessible inclusively to as many beings as possible, can see very clearly by just looking at the world, by the genocides that are happening as the seemingly only horizon of our current society, to this kind of infinite war that we are in, to the climate crisis that none of our leaders seem to actually do something about or meaningfully change towards. And so, of course, there are also the micro-level kind of affect that we are all feeling. Some of us feel helpless and the other and depressed and nihilistic about it, like there's nothing we can do, it's above our pay grade, there is nothing that we can do to change anything. And on the other hand, just completely looking away, believing in some kind of mythological, technological progressivism that will eventually save us and it's fine, we can just continue living as if nothing is happening. Neither of these attitudes is going to help right now. Not in the micro scale for us to be able to thrive and feel joy regardless of anything. And neither of these paths is helpful in the micro scale or in the macro scale. On the micro scale, for any of us to feel joy and thriving amidst that chaos. And on the macro scale, to elaborate new politics that can actually take us somewhere that we want to live in. And ultimately, when you realize that this kind of polarizing discourse between progressive neoliberalism and regressive conservatism, today I want to elaborate a third way, something that I like to call joyful usefulness. That is a path that chooses, and it's a daily choice, as a praxis, to first of all, and most importantly, look reality in the eye with radical honesty. To look this mass extinction event that we are all heading towards, the climate crisis, the femicide, genocide, ecocide crisis that is caused by our current political elite, our current ways of being, not just on a macro scale, but on a micro scale, in the ways that all of us are showing up, in the inner fascist in us all, in other ways, as Deleuze and Guattari likes to call it. And on the other hand, neither look away nor fall into helpless nihilism. In a sense, develop a stance, a mature stance, from the ashes of both of these paths. A stance that sees action, words, thought, building as a revolutionary act of world creating and world genesis. That understand that as inseparable, interconnected parts of a bigger biosphere, everything we do matters. Everything we do is reverberating throughout the entire biosphere and therefore has a lot of impact. And of course, strive to elaborate a path, a new path, a path that is predicated upon connection, disjunction, synthesis, making connections in places that didn't exist before, collaborating with people that you would otherwise disagree with, for the sole goal of building systems of care that makes as many of us independent of the logics of the state and the control, and the logics of capital and the control of the state. The third way sees action as a generative machine of joy. You can feel joy and thrive when you do, when you build, regardless of your circumstances, when you make something happen. And there is nowhere that I feel more inspired in the way in which I see this third way being practiced than within Palestine, within occupied Palestine itself. Whether it's in the West Bank, how people are so resilient despite the military law, the apartheid law that they are under, despite all of the constant bombardment of violence from settlers, despite the constant, for almost 100 years now, the constant desire to ethnically cleanse them. They are still there, they are still working the land, they are still building life, they are still planting olive trees. Olive trees that, by the way, takes sometimes decades in order for them to fruit. Trees that they are not going to sit under their shade, very likely going to be burned or destroyed by settlers. But they are planting them again every day. And the same is happening in Gaza. And of course, what I'm saying is not that life is great there, or we should stop doing everything that we are doing to stop this genocide and to liberate Palestine from the river to the sea. What I am saying is that when we look at the most oppressed of us, the most repressed in us. So ultimately, joyful usefulness is a way of life that on one hand realizes that the helplessness that we are feeling is imposed on us. It's imposed on us by systems that are built on completely fabricated mythology of power. They don't really have that power without all of our collective investment, without all of our accumulated life force and creative energy that is constantly being invested towards the accumulation of capital and the upholding of a state. It's a realization that nobody is coming to save us. Our political class is direly incapable of doing anything and imagining anything beyond the logics of the superstructure itself. And there is no Messiah, no one big person, great personality that is coming to save us all. It's up to any one and each of us to start wherever we are, with whomever we can collaborate with, to build regenerative systems of care, food, water, education, healthcare, spaces that are independent of the control of the state and the logics of capital, and are able to make as many of us as possible more and more independent of these systems, so we can invest our creative aliveness into imagining better worlds, better futures. So that is joyful usefulness. It's a third path that we can all start implementing and practicing from everywhere. And that is what I wanted to share with you today. It's an invitation, it's a suggestion. If you feel the calling, if something about this stuff feels refreshing, and you want to explore this in more depth, and you want to do it in community, together with other like-minded people, and develop these strategies as a mutual process, because if we understand that the problems that we are in have been created and upheld mutually, then getting out of them is also a mutual process. Then you can join the Emergent Wisdom Collective. We have book readings, we have food forests, which are these monthly sessions when we gather together and develop these strategies for navigating the polycrisis. And we have a zine that we are producing, and basically it is an open space. Things can emerge from our synergy, from our connection. So come join us on Discord. If you want to support what I'm building currently, specifically beyond the Emergent Wisdom Collective, beyond, of course, engaging with this video and sharing it and talking about it, you can support me on Patreon, on Substack. On Patreon, I'm doing monthly study groups for Patreons. And on Substack, I'm writing more or less a weekly essay around these topics. And the goal is that every money that comes from these sources is going to help me build those systems of mutual care in everywhere that all for my community and all the communities that's around me. The idea is that I want to make my life that practice of joyful usefulness, and in that sense, starting from separating my personal needs for food, water, shelter, education, spaces, from the same needs of the communities around me. So building systems that can support not just my needs, but the same needs for my entire community. So we're building a food forest, we're building water system, regenerative water system. Hopefully we are going to graduate to healthcare and education systems. And hopefully these systems that I'm building right now are going to become a case study that is going to be implemented all around here, and that I'm going to be able to document and create an archive for you on my Substack, Patreon, on social media here, so everybody else can learn, can start building those systems of care that's going to help us navigate this polycrisis. So that's it for today. I hope you're feeling joy in your heart, and I hope to see you in the Emergent Wisdom Collective, on my Patreon, on my Substack, here engaging in the comment section. Let me know what you think. And see you in the next episode in the series From Emergency to Emergence. Much love. Free Palestine. Goodbye.